All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's move over and talk about the IEBC in just a bit. But let's see your feedback fast before we switch gears here. Let's bring them up at Trevor Mbiji at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Charlo Woodrozy says it's very unfortunate that someone like Sakaja doesn't have a degree. The issues of education cannot be hidden. It's either you have it or not. I'm sure many candidates tabled fake degrees through thorough checks need to be done. Okay? Mogire Jasper says the Sakaja and others degree saga reveals what happens when we try to legislate morals. It begets worse immoral sins, i.e. forgery. It's what happened in the US when they banned alcohol. Bootleggers, boom, degrees of themselves don't add value. Okay. Bob Otieno says this is a witch hunt against Senator Sakaja. Someone somewhere is afraid of his candidature. Okay. Omwana says we should be realistic. Sakaja should table the degree. If he doesn't have, let him go back to school. He should stop this meanderism to Kenyans and IEBC officials. Okay. Frank Orinde says Sakaja's degree drama is now more on his integrity more than it is about him having a valid degree or not. One stops to ask, if he has a genuine degree, why go this long route? Okay. Viva says probably this chap is simply controlling the narrative. It's all drama and all about him and the media in Kenya who knows why faceless individuals who registered cases against him at IEBC tribunal failed to show up. Who knows if they were planted? IEBC will clear him again, okay? All right. All right, now let's talk about the IEBC now. There's a story on the front page of the Standard, the 1 million votes that could threaten the poll. With less than 2 months to the election day, IEBC bosses are scratching their heads over the transition of nearly 1 million votes in some 1,200 polling stations that lack network coverage, as Commission Chair Wafula Chebukati and Communication Authorities Chief Ezra Chiloba engage in political ping-pong over who should take responsibility. And Omari, well, let's start with you again on this. This raises 3 different questions. One, there's the more than 1 million voters whose data is questionable. About 268,000 people who are deceased, about 481,000 who used duplicate IDs and IDs that don't belong to them. The total was about 1.1 million. We computed that. Now, there's an issue of another 1 million in 1,200 polling stations that don't have network. These are the same issues that were raised in the Supreme Court petition that nullified the presidential election then. Is there a chance then, whatever the result in 2022, August 9th or 10th, whatever it is announced, someone can simply go to court and say, on the simple fact that the Supreme Court had nullified an election based on 1, 2, 3, which was not addressed, this election, should there be questioned?
First and foremost, Trevor, the question about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was very clear, and it gave guidelines on what a transparent, verifiable election is in terms of transmission of presidential elections. Remember, Kenyans, this is not about transmission of MCAs, all the other seats. That question does not fall there. But under the Elections Act, transmission of presidential elections are supposed to be directly from the polling station to the IEBC head, to the bombers for relay and tallying and announcing who is the winner. What amuses me is that this was 2017. IEBC did their part, drafted a bill, because bills are generated by the consumers of services. That bill went to Parliament. Parliament has been sitting on it until it rejected that bill.
Yeah.
The Parliament that rejected that bill is composed of the 2 serious contenders. One, Raila Odinga's team, with President Uhuru's team under Azimio, control Parliament, either 52 or 55%. William Ruto's team control Parliament and Senate to that margin. A few independents who could not make. So when you hear the 2 serious presidential candidates complaining that this election is likely not to meet the threshold of the Maraga decision, then you ask yourself, who stopped the parliamentarians, because these parliamentarians are answerable to Deputy President William Ruto and Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga, who stopped them from doing what IEBC wanted. But IEBC has gone further and said if Parliament, controlled by the two horses, has completely not allowed us to work, let us create other mechanisms. IEBC has come out very clear that they will deploy more than 1,111 satellite modems to transmit the results. So IEBC has not said we will wait for this election to be nullified the way that that 2017 election was nullified. Yeah. Two, they have also put places in the Kenya Gazette on how to make sure the elections are conducted in a free, fair, transparent, and verifiable manner in compliance with Section 89 of the Elections Act. So in my own view, I think this is still a lot of political hot air. People are saying there is no 3G network in Tiati. IEBC has no legal mandate, nor any business mandate to put masts. The other key players, for example, telecom facilities like Safaricom, the KCA and the other authorities are the ones that are supposed to provide the infrastructure on which IEBC is supposed to use to produce better results. Yeah. In my own view, I think this is again to blame the IEBC on issues that have been tested. Remember, the register. The question about the register has been all over, that there are very many guys who are dead in that register. There are very many guys who registered with double identity cards. There are very many people who are ghost registered. IEBC hired KPMG. Today, the 16th, today, the IEBC will release the results, the audit report, and the final register. Okay. That final register will be relayed by Citizen TV to the public and to everybody to confirm that this is the final register. Yeah. Tomorrow, the 17th, the IEBC is engaging stakeholders. So, for the first time in my own analysis, the IEBC of 2022 has done tremendously well, yet the resources to do that work was in the hands of the Azimio members of parliament and the Hustler members of parliament. Okay. So let us not demonize the IEBC when they have done tremendously well within the meager resources that the IEBC has been given. Okay,
Kipchumba, does this vindicate the deputy president? He had mentioned that there's a plot for about 1 million voters in his strongholds. He was a bit more specific, that are questionable. And now we are seeing that more than 1 million votes is an issue here. And there's also more than 1 million in terms of the ones that their credentials are questionable. Does this lend credence?
Yeah, it lends credence to what the deputy president said, but you have to ask yourself, Trevor, who blew the first whistle? It was Chebukati who said there are people who have been illegally transferred without the necessary support documents. But there is something that we need to ask ourselves. A free and fair election, constitutionally, it is IEBC who have been mandated to carry it out. But practically, every person has a role to play. And that is why when you read the law further, we do not allow, for example, state officers and public officers to engage in politics. Look at how we are about to get muddy with the whole thing. Musheru, the CS, has been campaigning for Raila all over. Communication Authority is under him. The PS in that ministry has been writing very funny things on social media about a certain candidate. So how do we really get to this election when we know Communication Authority are supposed to offer what we'll call infrastructure support to IEBC? The mandate of doing or carrying the elections of the country constitutional is under IEBC, but there are support infrastructure. And all of us need to question, all these questions need to be brought forth so that the election can be as peaceful and the voice of the people can be the only thing that will be announced by the returning officer, the national returning officer. We have attended several stakeholder engagement, one in the last week, and there is one for tomorrow, about all these things. What we must ask is, now that we are going to have a digital register, we need the national register to be uploaded so that what is uploaded in the KIMS kit is what is in the national register. Because with these ping-pong games and with the hacking and whatever, somebody can play games with the register that will be uploaded in the KIMS, because the national register is with 22 million voters, and after the audit, what is released today, we need to know how many people have died. There are spatial distribution in terms of even wards and polling station, so that if you say in the polling station where Kipchumba comes from, Tebesonic, for example, that 10 people have died, did they really die the real death, or it is a political IEBC death? You know, those are the things we need to ask, so that if we reduce this problem to the lowest level, we trickle it down and we make it granular, so that when we say it is 268,000 people who have passed, who have deceased in the register, we can reduce it to the granular level. That will also make or help people understand some of these things. But in terms of the issue of voting, we need to tell Kenyans voting is still manual. Even if we will be using a digital register, what needs to be overemphasized, that what we are questioning is the issue of relaying results. And there is something in one of the meetings that was said that I found it to be quite interesting, that you will find internet along the way, that in polling station A, let's say where Okango is voting here, if internet is not here, as he goes towards State House there, he will find internet. I found that very interesting, because we are discussing a national election, and we know an election that has taken, it is an election that has taken this country to the precipice of chaos. So at the end of the day, we need to support IEBC, and we must also call out the double-speaking politicians. When they have a chance, they increase their salaries. But when the rubber meets the road, they say IEBC has a problem. Give funds to IEBC. It is IEBC and the judiciary, the two institutions they deny funds, that they run to when there is a problem. Look at now all these politicians. When we say activate the judiciary fund, they look like we are speaking Greek, or we are from somewhere in Spain. But when now the rubber meets the road, they take their documents and they forge things to court. We need to hold them by the balls.
Okango, do you have confidence in IEBC giving a free, credible and fair election? 53 days to elections, and there's still these issues being raised.
Trevor, if you look at the number of days, 53 days, you need to half it. Basically, what we are looking at is half of that, the number of days for politics. Otherwise, we are staring at a disaster. Number two, there's what we call the general principle of electoral system that is provided for in law. And one of those principles says that the election must be free and fair. And in conducting free and fair election, it must be administered in a certain manner that is accountable, accurate, simple, transparent. And he also says that voting method, whichever system the commission will use to ensure that people vote to achieve that principle, that system must be simple, must be accurate, it must be accountable, and it must be transparent. Today, we are being told that even in the in the test run that they conducted, they selected around 2,600 polling stations, and more than half failed to transmit in the test run. So in my view, again I say, I've said this before in this show, that the method that IEBC used to engage stakeholders in preparation to this election was not sufficient. Yeah. They must have engaged all the stakeholders from day one as required, so that as we approach this election, the public, the politician, and other players are confident that this election is going to meet the principle, the general principle of the electoral system, and also the voting requirement that must be simple. Number two, our deputy captain, Madam Martha Karua, raised issues sometimes back and said IEBC should come out and tell Kenyans what they have done to fix the flaws that were identified in 2017, as Dan Sanomari has put it. That has not come out. Raila Odinga, when he was being cleared, and I was there, he raised some 10-point agenda on some of these issues. That has not come out. I say again, for IEBC to be believed that they are ready for this election, so that they deliver an election that is in conformity with the general principle of electoral system and in conformity with the voting requirements and standards, they must engage continuously. Yeah. They have failed to engage continuously. I give them a thumbs up for having tried to put some of these issues in terms of clearing, nominating candidates. They have done a tremendous job. Today we are talking about people who are not being cleared for lack of requirements, legal requirements, the requisite requirements. But in terms of the system, the technology, and the elections, I feel that maybe they needed to have engaged stakeholders more continuously, so that in the eyes of the public, we look at them and say, actually, Chebukati and team are doing a good job to ensure that whatever happens out of this election, we shall not take blame back to the commission. Because initially, they have been blamed. They have been blamed for failing. This time around, they have learned. In fact, IEBC chairman is one of the lucky IEBC chairman for having existence, because he's going to see a second election. Look at the previous ones. They have never managed to see that. That means people have confidence in him. Yeah. But look, from his own office, in their own admission, they did admit sometimes back that there was some transfer of voters, illegal transfer of voters of around 800,000. He admitted. And he said some people from the commission must have done that without providing the necessary documentation that appertains to that. Yeah. That was an admission. The second admission today we are seeing is that in testing the transmission of the results, they have failed by 56% as per what was projected, that they are not able to do that. Then now, look at the Ezra Chiloba Communication Authority, the ping-pong game that we are now talking about. There's a stakeholder. Yeah. The public, the politicians now us, we are saying, are they ready? The media are projecting this. They are saying, are they ready? So what we are saying is we need a continuous stakeholder engagement. Okay. Karori said that in one of the meetings they were in, they were told that you will find network along the way. I mean, really, we must be serious and say is as it is. If there are provisions that require that this election must be conducted in a certain manner, those provisions must be met. Because if they are not met, then in the presidential petition, somebody will raise it, and that is how this election will be cancelled or be nullified. All right.
Omari, now that we're still on the state of the race, let's move away from IEBC now and talk about something else that we're seeing on the campaign trail. Charity Ngilu yesterday was, by the Azimio team, was told to back down. And the Azimio leader said, Ndampeleka Nairobi. He wasn't specific on why or what Kumpeleka Nairobi meant, but this has also happened on the other side. Is this the election where we're seeing the most blatant distribution of positions even before a government comes into place? That we can almost predict that there's a cabinet that is being formed. In fact, they also named on both sides. They named some of them, the chief cabinet minister and all that. Does that pre-position them to a potentially embarrassing situation whereby so-and-so was designated for a position, is then rejected in the House? Or is this the most blatant and most obvious way of appointment that you're seeing in this country today, that it's happening even before the elections are done?
Kindly let me tell only these two, only one word.
Yeah.
If Azimio or the Hustler movement, their protagonists are here, feel that this election will have a problem, let them not take the Kenyans to the streets. There is a Supreme Court of 7 judges competent waiting. Lawyers, we are now 21,000 waiting to file petitions. So let nobody incite Kenyans that IEBC, if IEBC does not meet the threshold, let us go to the court.
Okay.
In 2017, they went to court. IEBC was fixed, another election was done. So my view is that if IEBC fails, the only recourse available to Kenyans, and I want every Kenyan to tell politicians that just get your lawyer, go to court, challenge that decision. If IEBC did not do a proper election, that election will be nullified. Let me come back to where we are. Azimio presidential candidate in Ukambani tells Charity Ngilu, come back to Nairobi. It is a statement, a political statement. Trevor, what is happening in this election? I've been campaigning for West Mogrango parliamentary aspirant Steve Mogaka of Jubilee, and the question people are asking, what is in stake for us? That is a question like degrees that has come out. Kenyans have always been electing people, and that person who runs amok with impunity, he gets his girlfriend, he gets his boyfriend, he gets people nominated who are funny characters, he runs government without accountability. The questions Kenyans are asking now, the Mulembe Nation is asking William Ruto, what is in stake for us? We are a shareholder in this thing. We are not. We are partners. The language now in politics is we are partners. So this is a national discussion all over. It started with Azimio saying, let us create BBI so that we deal with that question of distribution of resources, both human and development. Hustler were busy saying, this is a government, this is a team out to deal with the distribution of power and positions. Today, Hustler is the biggest because they are now, what they are bringing out is that they have equally gone to that narrative. What is in store for every region they go to? They have signed memorandums with the Kingi, they have signed memorandums with the Chap guy, they have signed. So what this is the best way to run government. So that somebody is not elected to State House, then he decides to bring his cronies, to bring his relatives to that position. The question, for example, in West Mogrango, and that's where I'm very well versed with, is the question the West Mogrango people are saying, tell us in CDF, give us the budget, how much is coming? Every ward, how many students are going to be funded for CDF? Two, how many dispensaries from each place is going to be allocated. This is what in line with Article 10. Baba has told Ngelu, come to Nairobi, I'll give you a position. The question is, there are positions that are subject to parliamentary approval. There are positions within government, and those positions, and that's what I'm telling you, go and tell Baba and go and tell William that Article 232 talks of public service positions will be attained by a competitive process. This question of anybody lying to anybody that I will give you an ambassador, I'll give you a PS, those are jobs. And very many Kenyans are going to court to challenge the question of somebody making a unilateral decision that I will appoint you a cabinet minister. I will appoint you a PS. I will appoint you an ambassador. We are reaching a time when we are actualizing the constitutional provisions and the safeguards that are there to ensure only those who qualify. So the bunch that has gone, you've seen UDA telling them, let us have let us agree. You step down, we'll give you this job. You step down, we'll give you the... Trevor, do you know even in Jeshi, in the army, the law provides for a serious competitive recruitment under the Security Council. If the military now is doing serious discussions on who sits on what position. So the question that Ngilu must be asking herself, is she likely to get a job? I did raise the question before that Mother Karua, senior counsel, has been slotted a job called a Minister for Constitutional and Justice.
Yeah.
It is an illegality that cannot stay, because the judiciary can never be under a cabinet minister. The judiciary is an independent arm of government. So those are the questions that people are starting to ask, that stop talking politics, but they are talking politics to get votes.
Yeah.
The reality on the ground is that any form of appointment, we must comply with the constitutional provision, because Article 1 says, we the people are sovereign.
Okay. Kipchumba, what do you make of these appointments that are being made in podiums? And it's on both sides.
Interestingly, I differ with Senior Omari heavily.
Yeah.
But as we differ heavily, the convergence is, I take refuge in the point that Kenyans are becoming woke. Yeah. I am a happy man when I see this happening. For a simple reason, Ombija. It means political accountability is happening. So that you just don't come here, throw around big words, tialala and tuko pamoja, those mantra, and go away and go with our votes. We need to reduce, and I'll say we need to go granular. The 22 million voters, everybody needs to say, what are my interests on the table? The only way, because we have known that 80% of these politicians, we vote for them to come and steal from us, you know, that let us call a spade a spade. So let us ask them, when you are going there, what position do we want? And we have even percolated it down to the county level. At a personal level, I will only vote for a governor who will take the interest of the people of Taribo constituency seriously. Yeah. And that applies to the presidential race. And you need to recognize this, Trevor. We are always, and I always say, this is an ethno-majoritarian kind of a democracy, where we have brought the different tribal nations to form a state. And in the formation of a state, the interest of each ethnic nation must be taken care of. And how are they taken care of? When we are done with the overarching principle, the Azimio or the bottom-up economic model, the underlying belly is the tribe or the little nations. What do you take to them? Because at the end of the day, it is their interest. And you have to give it to Kenya Kwanza. They came up with a very interesting thing, which I will propose that we adopt going to the future, where you not only do a pact with the leaders, but do a pact with the people at the lower level. We need to go to the level whereby, before we even go to an election, we know that in the Trevor Ombija government, Okango will be the Minister for Finance. So that we start judging you, the decisions you make before you get to office. Number two, so that when you get to office and you continue the politics of defeat and conmanship, we can call you out and you can survive for a term and we kick you out. It is that clear. We want political accountability. The other thing also on Charity Ngilu, my senior year is being trying to be kind. Ngilu was going to lose the election in Kitui. Why are we not calling that a spade? Raila Odinga is saving her. That is the point. So at the end of the day, let us not also play ping pong with words. We are here to tell the nation the truth, because politicians, Trevor, are the most egocentric people you have in the world. When you see a politician, Trevor, saying you are a good man, don't take it to the bank. Run to the mirror and say, what does the politician want to exploit from me? Because he already has my vote.
Okango has to get a right of
Kipchumba interacts with politicians and actually work for some of them. He advises some of them, and I know that to a fact. So I don't know whether when he sees them, he runs away to the mirror, but that's another day. Now,
but they are my clients, so I see the money.
I really want to thank the people of Ukambani. I was there yesterday. You know, we took Baba and Kalonzo for campaigns in Kitui, Mwingi Central. And when these things were happening, I was seated right behind them there. And I must tell you, politics is about negotiations. When, you know, Kenyans are also very clever. And the media reported this. When Raila Amolo Odinga was launching the Azimio agenda, what they call manifesto, as we call agenda. If you look at the choice of speakers who were speaking on specific agenda, Azimio la kina mama, Azimio la jitihada, Azimio la, you know, jitihada, Azimio la ukulima, these issues were spoken about by certain individuals. And that tells you the role they are going to play when we win this election, not if. Madam Ngilu was one of them. And therefore it is true that Madam Ngilu is destined for a position in Raila Odinga's government. Back to Ukambani where we were yesterday. The people of Ukambani have recognized that today they are going to vote for Raila Amolo Odinga 100%. And they have told their leaders that for us in Kitui, we want Malombe, because Malombe is the person that we feel this time can secure our lives and sort these issues in Kitui. And they have told Ngilu, we love you, but you know what? You can do better things with Baba up there. And that's why Raila Amolo Odinga yesterday, when he stood, he told the people of Kitui, I have talked to Madam Charity, and I've talked to Malombe, and you want Malombe, I will give you Malombe. That was the wording that he used. We in Azimio, we don't impose leaders. We give people what they want. The people of Kitui want Malombe, and that is the truth. You know, our friends...
What are the facts?
The facts are there. It was reported. Our friends in Kenya Kwanza have got this habit. Even in them, when they went to, I think, Tharaka Nithi, Deputy President William Ruto told the people of Tharaka Nithi that he's going to take Professor Kithure Kindiki to Nairobi and allowed the other gentleman to run. These things are negotiated. Politics is about negotiation. We strongly believe that the agenda that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya has today, it's an agenda that can be delivered through the people. Because Kipchumba said that going forward, he would want the country to adopt what they are doing, signing a pact with the public. He's also forgetting that when Raila Odinga started this journey, Raila Odinga went to the public and asked them, what do you want me to do? In fact, do you even want me to run? Then you ask them, what do we want to deliver? What do you want us to deliver when we are running? And that was happening. And I want to thank the Kamba leader, one gentleman, who is our very good friend, Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. When you walk in Ukambani land and you hear what people say about the sacrifices he made to support Raila Odinga, and now the enthusiasm that the Ukambani leaders and the public have towards Azimio, I can tell you, Kipchumba Karori should be preparing for opposition benches, because it is going to happen.
I want to wrap this conversation, yes. But Omari, there's an issue here that we are not seeing and not talking about. Ethnicity, appointments, and resource distribution. It is still a perception that if Danstan Omari from Irango is given an appointment, then the people of Kisii have the appointment. This is a fallacy of some sorts. How is it that still at the national level, we're still doing that distribution, yet we know it is a fallacy? It is not necessarily true that if you get that appointment, then the people, the Kisii people have also gotten the same appointment as you.
This fallacy has been there for the last 59 years, and we are heading to the 60th year, where people pretend to have that I represent a tribe. You have heard Okango, very good, eloquent, telling you that Kalonzo represents the Kambas. And he'll shepherd them to Baba, and 100% of the votes in Kambaland are taken. That fallacy has also been perpetuated all over that when Omari Dunstan is appointed the CJ or the Attorney General, the Kisses have been appointed as CJ. That fallacy is crumbling so fast. Kipchumba got it right. The honors of those people, the honors of Kalonzo, the honors of members of parliament, the honors of governors are now demanding pre-election written agreements, charters. Give UDA credit where it deserves. It is having a direct engagement with the voter.
Yeah. And
that voter will go and sue UDA because they have entered into a charter on what to do. Azimio has also started doing the same, but we will encourage them to have written charters that are deposited so that they are brought to here. We know exactly. I've given you an example in West Mugrango constituency where the charter is within the constituency itself. We have 10 members of cabinet secretaries or PSS or chief officers to be appointed in Nyamira County. The governors are being told, let us look at it. There are 7 wards. Each ward, 1 CC. Sign here. Each ward, 1 somebody. Each ward, 5,000 kilometers or 2,000 kilometers of Maram. The people have brought the question of accountability to the core. So this narrative that Musalia Mudavadi, once is given the job, the lawyers have it, is completely away. The tribal kings who have thrived this territory as colossus for all these years have now realized that you need to go and engage the people themselves. Where does that tell us? Ngilu, if Baba had a way, Ngilu could be the candidate for Kitui. But the people resented, and Okango says the people told him, here, it is Malombe.
Correct.
This is the dilemma in the Luo Nyanza and Nyanza region where independent candidates have made my good friend for the first time, Senior Counsel Orengo, has never come to Nairobi. It is life and death to retain a seat in Luo Nyanza. It is life and death to retain a seat in Gusiland and the whole country. What are we learning? That now that question that you represent the tribe, that notion is no longer there. It is what can you do to us? Give us your manifesto, give us what you are going to deliver, and that is the only time we will elect you and will hold you account. Okay. Did the Constitution provide for this? Yes, the recall clauses. I'm telling you, this election from 2022, very many elected leaders are going to be impeached. Remember, the question of impeachment of governors was because of non-service delivery. Okay. The question of recalling of MCAs, recalling of members of parliament, recalling senators is going now to actualize. The question of Sakaja, kindly allow me to bring it in there. The question of Sakaja and the Igade is a question that, does Igade represent the Sonko regime? Or does Sakaja reincarnate the Sonko regime, who between the two appears to be near NMS? Igade is near NMS. And that might be the reason as to why Igade will completely whitewash Sakaja, because the question is not only on the Luhya nation. It is about, can you tell us, with your track record, what you have done? Okay. Igade's track record is there. Okay. Sakaja had a track record that has been tainted by these issues of transparency, which reminds them of the regime of Sonko. Okay. So, in my own view, I think we are now past the age that Omari represents Kisi interest, okay. Karori represents the Kalenjin interest, Okango represents the Luo interest, and every formation, Raila Odinga will get votes the whole country. William Ruto will get votes the whole county. The Wajakoya person will get the votes the whole country. The Mwaure president will get votes in the whole country. The question is, who will get 50+1 and 24 counties, 25%?
All right, let's bring some of your feedback.
Is he confirming that the country has ganja spread across?
Let's not go there. Let's bring some of your feedback. Closing remarks here. There's an issue here of the fuel levy. I'd like to hear what you guys think on what state's shock plan to end the subsidy on oil beans and whether that is the right time to do this at this time when everybody is complaining about tough economic times. Well, let's see what you're saying before we take quick closing remarks on this. Bobo Tieno Wino says DP William Ruto was right, complaining about 1 million voters, and IEBC Kenya has vindicated him, not forgetting even Raila Odinga complained too with remaining days to elections. I don't see them meeting the conditions. Okay. Robert Kiberenge says the political space has been reduced into an arena of politicians throwing around hollow promises to outdo each other. The pledges are mere lists of unrealistic wishes which will never be fulfilled, but Kenyans are more enlightened than ever. Okay? Engineer Lazaro says IEBC should open itself for public scrutiny and verification before election. Currently, we're in a situation where some parties have resorted to blame game and there could be early preparations to reject the results. Okay. Okelo Mwalimu says IEBC Kenya seems to be better prepared this time around compared to 2017. It's our hope and prayer that the good progress made so far doesn't go to drain before, on, or after August 9th. Now the electronic register will be used. We hope that the dead won't resurrect and vote. Okay. Frank Orinde says the issue around unauthorized voter transfer puts IEBC in a precarious position. Everyone has a reason to question their credibility. The commission should be put to task to reveal those behind the vice and they be punished by the law. All right, gentlemen, we just have about 8 minutes to close now. I'll start with closing remarks, but I'll come to you, Kipchumba. This issue of the fuel subsidy, is this the right time to lift it up? Is it not sustainable? It's a very economic conversation, also as you give your closing remarks. 53 days to the elections. Do you have confidence in the IEBC? What should the people focus on?
Trevor, let's begin with IEBC.
Yeah.
IEBC cannot be an end product. All of us are stakeholders of IEBC. I cannot sit here and say I don't have confidence in IEBC. I must tell the people of this country, we must all of us participate in building the confidence, because the rise of IEBC is the rise of our nation. The fall of IEBC is the fall of our nation. So we cannot for a moment stop and say we wish IEBC to fail. It is wishing this country to fail and wishing a part of me to fail. So at the end of the day, I pray daily that IEBC delivers a credible election, that IEBC for the first time delivers a winner. When they declare, even the loser will say, you won free and fair. That is how we will move forward as a nation.